Good morning. Welcome to the AAO Foundation and the Park Member Committee's presentation on presenting a successful submission for research and faculty development grants. My name is Brett Schott. I'm the Vice President of the AAO Foundation. I'm glad that you're here. We are excited to be able to continue to be the philanthropic arm that helps promote the specialty of orthodontics. Funding for the AAO Foundation is 100% philanthropic. Generations of orthodontists have contributed and created a way to fund research in this specialty and profession for many years. Last year, the Park Committee and the AAO Foundation awarded more than $925,000 in funding for research and faculty development. That, along with our craniofacial legacy project, allowed us to give away more than $1 million for research and faculty development this past year. We're proud of that, and we're excited that we can continue. I'm pleased now to present the chair and the vice chair of the Park Committee, Dr. Sylvia Fraser Bowers and Dr. Seth Alaretti, who will present today's presentation to you. We'll have opportunities for questions along the way. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to this presentation. Dr. Fraser Bowers.
See. Okay, sorry about that. I am back. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Dr. Fraser.
Good. Sorry about that. I moved my location. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I was having an issue with the connection. So I am Sylvia Fraser Bowers, as Brett Schott shared, and I'm going to be co-presenting with Dr. Seth Alaretti, who's the vice chair of the Planning and Research Committee. And today we're just going to go over a little bit about the award types, eligibility criteria, the components that are required, what the review process is, the roles of the applicant, mentor, and chair, for instance, in terms of ensuring success. And we also will break intermittently in the presentation to see if you have any questions. Next slide. And so I've kind of touched on this already. The goal of this workshop is really to be very transparent and to be informative in terms of providing the information to our community, and also hope that we can be a part of what may lead to a more complete, more quality application, because we do want as many people to be funded as possible. And we also want, obviously, to support the specialty of orthodontics, and we want to be able to advance the specialty through stimulating grant ideas from its members. And also, this is an important part of what the work we do, because it is a very good reason why the fundraising has to continue, and If without that fundraising, we would not have seeded as many of the careers and successful programs that we have to this date. And so the mission, as I've already alluded to, is to advance the orthodontic specialty. And we're doing that because we are supporting the education and research. And these grants oftentimes are grants that may have an educational component or a research component. The vision is to strengthen the future of the specialty by providing the resources to engage and empower all orthodontists to excel in practice, research, and academics. The work that the grantees complete is not just impacting their career, but it's impacting practitioners and the way that they practice. Since 1994, the foundation has made an impact that is lasting through funding more than 700 research and fellowship awards, investing nearly 18 million in the future of orthodontics. And another good tidbit is that 70%, 76% of those faculty that have been supported by the foundation remain in full-time academic positions 5 years after receiving support. Many are longer than 5 years, but at least 76% are 5 years. This year, and most years, we will have a call for proposals. It doesn't mean that these are the only things that we want to see, but they're things that have elevated through our discussions and considerations. One is preparing orthodontics for the AI era. That call is basically looking for research and education, faculty development, and clinical practice surrounding AI evolution. Next is advancing orthodontics through innovation, education, and discovery. And that, of course, is what we hope we get every year. Ideas, research proposals that are innovative, that help the education, and also help the practice of orthodontics. Next slide. For the 2027 cycle, the award caps are the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Award being 30,000. And if that is to include a salary request, the salary would be capped at 20,000. The Biomedical Research Award is capped at 40,000. The Research Aid Award is capped at 6,000. Center awards are 25,000 per year for a maximum of 3 years. And we'll say a little bit more about this, but the Type 3 and Type 4 are the center awards being offered for this cycle. A postdoctoral fellowship award has a maximum of 2 years at $50,000 per year max. For that particular type of proposal, we only accept one proposal per program per year, excuse me. The application deadline, it seems like it's a long time away, but it's coming up. It's October 16th of this year. The eligibility and the types as it corresponds to eligibility are one, for all awards, there has to be a commitment to an academic career, and that will be included in the documents that you prepare. There has to be an affiliation appointment with a U.S. or Canadian institution. It has to be associated with an accredited orthodontic program or craniofacial program. The fellowships, in particular, OF-DFA and Postdoctoral Fellowship Award, PFA, the BRA and the Center Award requires that you are US or Canadian citizens or have a green card, either have a green card or are in have an application for a green card. And there are certain awards that would allow you to be part-time and or a resident. The others basically require that you're full-time. Next slide. Here is the application website posted here. There is a QR code. Many of you probably already know where this is. That's probably how you even know about the workshop today. If you are able to zoom in on the QR code, you can, but you can always find it later. If you're new to the system, you will have to create a new account. If you are a previous user, hopefully you remember your information. If not, at least if you remember the email, you can retrieve your password and you can sign on, and then you will automatically be on the apply page. You will then see the various categories and use the appropriate category using the same email and password each time that you log in. The applications will automatically save. You can log out and log back in at any time to complete the application before the deadline. Once you're finished, you will click the submit button. You cannot change your application after it has been submitted. Next slide. And Mindy, if you could keep me posted on what slide we're on, or I guess to tell me when we arrive at slide number, I think, slide number, is it 16, Dr. Alaretti, for when we switch?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I haven't been counting and I don't see the numbers, so apologies. So let's go over the award types and eligibility criteria. When we think in the category of junior faculty, we think of, and we think full-time, we think of Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Award and the Postdoctoral Fellowship Award. It looks like it, sorry. Okay. I've already given you the amounts when I did the summary, but important to note on this slide is that the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Award is for full-time faculty less than or equal to 5 years in the first appointment. And sometimes I get questions about when that first appointment starts, whether you could have done maybe after your residency, a fellowship, or an advanced degree. That is something that is taken into consideration as a part of your education versus your appointment. The Postdoctoral Fellowship Award requires that you are an orthodontist with a PhD or equivalent. You basically can use that for a postdoc research training. This award is really meant to help catalyze future extramural NIH funding, and that's why the amount is more and the requirements are a little greater. And there can only be one proposal per program, as I mentioned. I do want to make a distinction right here. You note for the postdoctoral fellowship award, you have to be an orthodontist. For the OFDFA, you also should be an orthodontist as well. Next slide. And that'll be different than the next slide. For the Biomedical Research Award, it also requires that you're full-time faculty for at least 3 years, any rank. And here is where things differ a little. For the Biomedical Research Award, you do not have to be an orthodontist, but you do have to be affiliated or appointed in an orthodontic program, department, etc. Recently, we have also made it so that individuals who are cleft and craniofacial orthodontists that are affiliated with a hospital program can also be eligible for these awards. But irrespective of that, they have to be full-time. There has to be a teaching commitment, and they have to be a part of an ACPA accredited team. Finally, the Research Aid Award is for residents and part-time faculty. Now, oftentimes we think of this as an award that residents will pursue, but it is open to part-time faculty, albeit maybe rare. We want to keep encouraging any of you who are on this call as full-time faculty members or leaders. If you have a part-time faculty member that is interested in developing at least a small project while they're there, this would be a good mechanism to do that. The criteria are that you have basically a letter of support, and even within your application, you need to state that you have an academic interest. And your academic interest doesn't have to be specific to full time, but you have to state that you have some interest in contributing to the academic space of orthodontics. You have to actually have at least a year from the start of the award to complete the project. And I think Dr. Already might go over some of this, but in case not, so that means you wouldn't want to apply for this and get it in July when it's dispersed and then graduate in December. You need to have a year at least to complete the project, and ideally more than a year, or more than a year of your education remaining. Also, you cannot be someone who has previously received the Research Aid Award. And part-time orthodontic faculty, again, are eligible. They don't have the same level of stipulations, but by virtue of the fact that they are part-time faculty, it means that they have an interest in contributing to education. Next slide. The Center Award is 25,000 per year for up to 3 years. There's no specificity on your rank or status. And the goal of the Center Award is to enhance collaboration within and between institutions. And as I mentioned earlier, this year we're going to focus on two categories, which are 3 and 4, while we reimagine the other categories. The two categories remaining are those awards that will support the establishment, maintenance, dissemination, and development of special collections and databases relevant to orthodontics, or collaborative projects that will promote the advancement of orthodontics through innovative discoveries and knowledge dissemination. That will be discussed later, but for instance, you could have something like a workshop or a symposium. Next slide. When we look at the possibilities of an orthodontic faculty applying, this decision tree can be helpful. And you can see that if you're full time, you're going to be open to a lot more awards, and then your level of experience will determine which would be more appropriate. The Center Award is more unique in that it doesn't have that chronological timestamp or seniority limit on it. And the Research Aid Award, of course, is unique in that it's really just for residents or part-time faculty. But the other three are summarized here. I won't read them all out, but it's pretty much as I have already detailed earlier. So we are going to have Dr. Already share some more information about the process of applying and how to be excellent at that. But if there are questions that have arisen right now, if you have a burning question, I believe we have some time to field those. If anyone has a question, just do the hand raise feature. And if not, we will continue.
It looks like there are no burning questions just yet.
Yes. All right. So,
Uh,
oh,
there is
one
actually
popped
one
up.
question from Navdeep. Yeah.
Spoke too soon.
Yeah,
You're muted. Oh, okay.
hi, Dr. Sylvia. Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Already. So I just joined UAB in January as a full-time faculty, but I'm not on a green card and I don't know when I'll be. So I want to know which of these awards I will be applicable for.
Okay, that's a good question. A lot of times George is on this call, um, but I am not 100% sure. I
Okay.
know the Research Aid Award, but that wouldn't be appropriate for you. Dr. Already, is the
Yeah.
BRA also?
No, so I think so Navdeep, if this is your first appointment, uh, right, and if you're a full-time faculty, technically you're eligible for the OFDFA awards, and you need not actually have a green card in hand. Okay. If you're in the process of applying for a green card, if you are able to get a letter of support from your institution that you have filed for the green card, or the institution has filed for the green card, or in the process of filing for a green card, that will still make you eligible.
Yes, and actually the slide did say if you have it or if you're applying.
Yeah.
And I that's why I thought your question was maybe if you hadn't yet applied. So Dr. Already, are you saying that if he hasn't even applied, as
That,
long as he has a letter from his
yeah,
institution, he doesn't even need to have apply yet?
that's right. If there is an intent to apply for green card, that's what matters, because you know how the institutions work. They take a long time for doing the paperwork
Yeah.
thing. But if there
Okay.
is able to get a letter of support from the institute which says that it will be applied soon, then I think that should be fine.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, there's a
Um,
second.
someone has a question. If I have been a full-time faculty for 3 years and I started as a, I guess, program director 1.5 years ago, what is the question? Maybe I need to click.
Okay, so what matters is the time from your initial appointment. So now you're at 3 years of your faculty appointment. So
Mhm.
in this particular instance, this particular candidate would be eligible for a OFTFA award because it is within that 5-year window of initial appointment.
Yes. So, in other words, starting as a program director doesn't have an impact on your overall eligibility. It's your cumulative time. So I don't know if you were alluding to that 1.5 years ago, would that be your start? Your start would definitely be that you've been in full-time academics for 3 years. So that means you have 2 years in this particular eligibility category for an OFDFA.
Or the other, I guess you could also see this as 3 years plus 1.5 year. So you started as a full-time faculty 3 years ago, and then oh yeah, so 3 plus 4, that's 4.5 years. So that would put you at 5 years, which means technically you're still eligible to apply for a FTFA award.
I thought she said, so I'm confused. It is 3 plus 1.5. I thought she was saying she's been a full-time faculty, a cumulative of 3 years, and half of that time she was a program director. So
Yeah,
you're saying you've been a faculty for 4.5 years. Is that correct? Yes.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, then you are still eligible currently for this cycle. Sorry for that. Okay. Any other questions? All right. If no other questions, Dr. Alleready.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dr. Fraser Boats, and good morning or good afternoon to all of you, depending upon which geographic location you are in. So the next 15-20 minutes, I'll go over the different components of uh, the application, and then what are the requirements which are that are very specific to each kind of award type. We could go to the next slide. Okay, so first is for those uh, applicants who already had a previous AF award. There is a component called as outcomes of previous awards. Make sure that you complete that, because this is an opportunity for you to show off to the park committee about how successful you were in completing that project. Do list all the publications, presentations that came out of that grant, and if it resulted in another external award, please list that too. Because we want to look at how the AAOF award has actually helped further your career trajectory, and what are the chances of further success with additional funding. So these are some of the outcome metrics that are very important for the AAO Foundation and also for the donors. So make sure that if you have a previous award, do list all the outcomes resulting from that award. That is very, very critical. The next item is about budget and budget justification. As Dr. Frazier Boards earlier said, for each award category, there is a cap on how much the American Association of Orthodontists Foundation will fund. So when you do your budget and budget justification document, make sure that you list all the eligible expenses, itemize them, and give a good justification of why you need that particular line item, and then justify the cost associated with that particular activity or line item. Make sure that you follow the guidelines. Again, each award type has got specific guidelines. For example, the OFTFA and the PFA awards allow salary support or salary supplement, whereas the Biomedical Research Award and the Center Awards do not allow salary support for any of the principal investigators or the co-investigators. And there are also limits on how much you can budget for travel. If you're going to present at the American Association of Orthodontists annual session or the AADR annual session, you can budget for travel, but there are again limits to how much money you can budget for travel depending upon the award type. For example, for the Research Aid Award, I recall that the maximum amount of monies that you can budget for travel is $1,000, whereas for the Biomedical Research Award, it could go up to $2,000. Now, if there are other funds that you plan to use to complete the proposal, then the committee would want to know who's funding them, which means you have to declare the source of funding. Like as we said earlier, there are caps to how much the AO Foundation will fund for each grant, but we understand that certain projects take more monies, but we have to account for where that money is coming from, and which agency is supporting that additional funds. For example, you could list your startup package that your particular department or university is giving as the source for additional funding. Now, specific to the fellowships, which is the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Awards and the postdoctoral the postdoctoral fellowship awards, if you're requesting a stipend or a salary for the principal investigator, make sure that it doesn't exceed the amount that is set as a cap by the foundation. And then for whatever additional monies are required to complete the proposal or the planned project, you describe what those alternate funds or sources are. Because as reviewers, we want to uh, comprehensively evaluate the appropriateness of the proposed activities, your budget justification should be appropriate and complete, and we only cover for eligible expenses, and they should be reasonably justified. And if they are not listed in the budget, then make sure that you provide the how you're going to support that additional equipment, supplies, or resources that will be essential for you to complete that project. So in essence, try to provide as much information as possible so that the reviewers are able to do a real informed, complete, comprehensive evaluation of your budget justification document. So the next component that is required in the proposals are the biosketches. So we have been using the NIH biosketch templates, and we need a biosketch for all the individuals that are listed on the title page. And typically you list the principal investigator, your project mentor, your co-investigators, as well as any consultants that you have. So we need a biosketch for all of these individuals that are listed on your title page of proposal. There are page limits, so we can go up to 4 pages, and the NIH biosketch should have a personal statement, positions and honors, contribution to science, and research support, which is both ongoing support as well as research support that you have obtained in the past 3 years. Now, recently, NIH changed the biosketch format. So you could, for this upcoming cycle, you could either use the new NIH biosketch template or the previous NIH biosketch template. So either of it is just fine. And we also have examples of this biosketches formats in the actual application package. So when you look into that, you'll have a pretty good idea about how the NIH biosketch should be formatted. As I said earlier, you have to list all the individuals named on the title page, describe about their role, whether they are a principal investigator, like a project consultant, co-investigator, or a project mentor, and talk about their responsibilities and the percentage effort they would be dedicating to this particular project. Again, we want to look at the commitment of the individuals that are listed in this project. So make a provide a reasonable justification of how much amount of effort they will actually contribute to this project. Now for the fellowship awards, specifically for the OFTFA, which is meant for early career faculty, right? The first 5 years after since your first appointment, the role of your mentor or advisor is absolutely critical, and this has to be very clearly articulated in your proposal. And we are looking for if there are plans for meetings with applicant, and then what kind of skills and backgrounds that the mentor can provide as assistance to developing this particular faculty member. So role of a mentor for the OFTFA is absolutely important. Now, coming to the proposed plan, there are several components to it. So first is your abstract, and you have about 1 page to have an abstract of the proposed project, and then you have the actual project plan, and each award type has got limitations or limits on how many pages that particular project can have. And if you're resubmitting an application, you have 1 extra page that's called as the introduction page, where you give a rebuttal of the comments uh, that were provided to you by the park committee for your as feedback. And then you have a project timetable page, which again has to be within 1 page. And then for references, there are no page limits. Include all the cited materials in the reference section. For those applicants that are resubmitting an application, you will get a very comprehensive feedback from the park committee. And there will be 6 areas where you will get very specific feedback about your proposal. Make sure that you include all the comments that were made, and give an appropriate rebuttal of how you are actually addressing the weaknesses that were identified by the committee. And you have 1 page for the pre-submissions introduction page. So again, one page is not a lot, and you will get a very comprehensive feedback from the committee. So look at the key points in the proposal that need modifications, what changes were made, uh, summarize them, and you make sure that whatever is identified as a potential weakness, you will have to appropriately address them in your resubmission introduction page. So with regards to letters of support, almost every, not almost actually, every award type requires letters of support, and there are no page limits for letters of support. But for each specific type of award, there are unique uh, like instructions, and they have to be followed. And just avoid any kind of extraneous letters. So submit letters which are most relevant to the proposal. And then you have like an appendix section. Again, there are no page limits to the appendix section. So typically what is uploaded in the appendix section include uh, if you're doing human subject research, then we would want to know about the uh, institutional review board approval status. So describe the status. And if you already have an IRB that is approved, then please do include the IRB approved document. And if it is animal research, again, the equivalent of IRB document, you have to upload if it is already approved, or just describe the status of what the situation is. And you also have an opportunity to upload publications that are sort of relevant to the application, and you can upload up to 3 publications for each proposal. Again, just upload only those published work that is directly relevant to this application. Again, this is an opportunity for you to show to the committee that you have done similar work in the past, and then you're actually building on what you have accomplished or done in the past. Okay, so we'll take a few minutes to answer any questions that you have in this particular section that I presented, which are the required components of the application process. Again, you could type your question in the chat, or you could just virtually raise your hand, and then we'll be happy to take any questions. Okay. Looks like I did an awesome. Oh, okay. Actually, there is some I spoke to early. Okay, so hi, for the published manuscript, is it required to be the first author? No, not required. As long as you're one of the authors, that is just fine. Okay, so we'll go to the next section where I'll talk about the specifics of each award type. So for the fellowship awards, which includes the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Award and the Postdoctoral Fellowship Awards. So we have page limits. For the OFDFA, the project plan has to be within 6 pages. And for the Postdoctoral Fellowship Award, it has to be within 10 pages. And for both these fellowship awards, there are 4 required components. The educational component, the clinical skills component, the teaching skills component, and the research component. And you need to have a narrative for each of these 4 development plans. I can remember this is a faculty development or a postdoctoral fellowship award. So we're looking at training the next generation of faculty. So you need to have a well-developed educational plan. Now, with regards to the educational plan, a lot of times we have in the past seen uh, study investigators list the list of courses that they have taken or plan to take. It's not about just the courses, right? We want to look at uh, how how these courses will actually help you evolve as a faculty. How are you going to upskill yourself with with the courses that you plan to take? That information has to be very clearly articulated in your education development plan. And yeah, go ahead. For both the OFDFA and the PFA, we need letters of support. Again, there is no page limits to the letters of support. And you need at least 3 supporting letters, and choose references who can talk about your abilities and your future potential as a faculty. And again, as I said earlier, the goals of the OFDFA and the PFA is to develop the next generation of faculty in orthodontics. And you need to have letters of support from all the individuals that are included on the title page. So this includes your principal advisor or mentors, co-investigators, consultants. We need letters of support from all of these individuals. And do have your co-investigators and your mentors talk specifically about what they would be contributing to this project and how they're going to support you. You also need a letter of support from your institutional official. And for this, it is typically the Associate Dean for Research. That's how it has been. That's how we have been doing, at least at University of Illinois, Chicago. And they have to provide a document or a letter that sort of verifies that you will be having access to all the resources for your four developmental plans. And then you need to get a letter of support from your chair or head of department that verifies that you're eligible to apply for this particular type of awards. And then they also have to confirm that you have a full-time faculty appointment as of July 1st of the funding period. For the OFDFA, you can have one or more areas of emphasis. Again, you need to have a narrative for all the four areas, but you can focus on one or more areas. Now, for the postdoctoral fellowship award, again, you need to have a narrative for the four developmental areas, but research must be your focus. And provide as much information or details as possible so that the committee can do a very informed, comprehensive evaluation of your proposal. When we talk about plans, again, we're looking at what you want to do in the future with the support that you're getting from the foundation, right? I mean, you can talk about what you have accomplished and the history, but that shouldn't be the primary focus. What we want to know is what are you going to do with the monies that you're actually going to get for this proposed award. Uh, Again, for early career faculty, make sure that you review the plans with your mentor, give them adequate time so that they can provide a review that addresses all potential weaknesses. And again, get good letters of support from your mentors as well as your co-investigators. For the postdoctoral fellowship award, there are limits to how many proposals a particular program can submit. It's limited to one award per year per program. But for the OFTFA, there are actually no limits to how many proposals a program can submit. Now you can apply for both OFTFA as well as the PFA awards, but only one will be funded. So just keep that in mind. So you can apply for both the awards as long as you're meeting the eligibility criteria for both those awards. But even if both the proposals get scored very high, only one is going to get funded. And if you are a resident that's going to graduate soon, and if you're applying for the OFTFA award, we need to see a verification from your department chair or an institutional official that very clearly states that you're going to have a full-time faculty position starting July 1st of the funding year. So as we had discussed earlier, the fellowship awards do allow for a stipend, a salary support, or a salary supplement. Now, but again, the AAO Foundation has no problems with providing salary support or salary supplement, but you'll have to check with your institutions if a salary supplement or additional income as salary is allowable. So that is something that you have to discuss with your institutional official to check if a salary supplement or additional salary is allowable as per your institutional policies. So from the AAO Foundation point of view, there is no issue with us, but just check with your institution. And if you have any specific questions about the salary support or salary stipend or salary supplement, however you call this as, you can always touch base with us and we'll be happy to discuss with you, because each of this could be like a very specific or context dependent kind of issue. For the Biomedical Research Award, the page limit for the proposal plan is 10 pages, and for the Research Aid Award, it is 5 pages or less. And you need to have like a background and significance of your project. If you have any preliminary data to support your application, that would be very helpful, and that would definitely strengthen your application. You need to have an experimental design methods and statistical analysis section, like how you do the how are you proposing to do the actual study that you want to do, right? And then with good statistical or analytical approach section. We also want to look at what are your expected outcomes from the proposed study, and if something doesn't work out well, what are the alternate approaches? How are you going to basically troubleshoot if any challenges come over the course of the conduct of study? Again, for both the BRA and the Research Aid Awards, there are no limits on the pages for letters of support. Get letters of support from all the individuals named on the title page. And you also need a letter of support from the institutional official. As I said earlier, this is typically the associate dean or assistant dean for research. They have to state that there are sufficient resources and you will be given that support to complete the proposed project plan. And you need to have a letter from your chair or head of department to verify eligibility. And for a biomedical research award, you need to be a full-time faculty for at least 3 years as of July 1st of the funding period. And if you're a cleft craniofacial orthodontist that is affiliated with the ACPA team, we need to have a letter confirming that you do have some kind of teaching activities in your role as a cleft craniofacial provider in that particular team. For the Research Aid Award, this is meant either for part-time faculty or for residents that have a strong interest in a future academic career, and this can be either full-time or part-time. And make sure that there is sufficient time for the project to be completed. As Dr. Frazier-Bowers earlier said, there are specific calls for proposals. But then it's not that you only have to apply for that in response to that specific call for proposal. You can also have like investigator initiated research, and this has to be something in orthodontics or related topics. And what we want to see is hopefully your research project will lead to peer-reviewed publications in scientific journals, generate some preliminary data that could lead to an external grant applications. And historically, we have had very high success with some of our faculty who got the AAO Foundation Awards. They were able to successfully generate data that supported a external funding from NIH. And then here we emphasize on the scientific merit of the proposals. For the BRA and the Research Aid Awards, there are no limits on how many proposals an orthodontic program can submit. Now, as a principal investigator, you could apply for both the Biomedical Research Award as well as a postdoctoral fellowship award if you're eligible for both the categories. But again, only one will get funded. And if you are a PI or a co-PI on another application, then you cannot apply. So again, you can apply as a PI or co-PI for only in one application. For the center award for the upcoming cycle, we are going to, there are only 2 types of center awards that we will offer, which is the type 3 center award that involves creating special collections or databases which are relevant to orthodontics. And then the type 4 center award, which is like a workshop or a symposium. And this can be a collaborative effort with different departments in the same institution or could involve personnel from different institutions. And you have 10 pages for the project plan.
I think this is maybe where I come
Yes.
in. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get started again. Last time my signal became very weak, so I was standing and trying to talk at the same time to get a good signal. At least this time I am sitting down, but please, if anyone notices that I'm not coming through clearly or visually, just please let me know. Um, the foundation staff is tremendous in supporting the efforts of this process. As we've stated before, and many probably already know, the portal actually opens on July 1st. And from that time forward, the staff is monitoring applications, the cadence of applications, the quality, and they're ultimately due by October 16th. If you start an application, as many people do, you can keep working on it. Um, but again, once you hit submit, it's done. There is the possibility that if you submitted it and you just remembered you forgot something, but it's well ahead of the deadline, like by weeks or, certainly significant time, you can let a staff member know, I did check on that one question, but, it's preferable that you take your time and submit it only after you've done all of your checklist. The staff again will review for eligibility, the deadline, of course, and completeness. And if I actually could ask this question of the staff on the call, which I believe is Mindy and Brett, I suppose if someone didn't have an application that you determined to be complete, but they turned it in far in advance, I don't know if that they would be flagged or they just wouldn't find out until later. But again, there was some discussion about that, but hopefully hopefully that doesn't happen. Basically, applications that are incomplete, ineligible, or late in the review process, which I'll talk about next, will be, they won't be reviewed, basically. Next slide. So when the applications are deemed to be complete, they're assigned by the chair role, which is me, to various members on the park committee based on their area of expertise. There is a place on the application that asks if you have conflicts of interest. We don't intend for that question to be, you can just think of anyone that, you're not as close with and put them as a conflict of interest. It's really meant to say, if someone is on this committee who is also a person that belongs to the same institution as you have published with them in the past 3 years, a manuscript, or you have been on a grant with them in the past 3 years, that is what conflict of interest is meant to be. It's not meant to say that you can pick who you want to review. The process after the assignments are made, and we do try to make assignments thoughtfully about who is the best person to review your particular application. We pick two individuals, and I'm going to talk about the scoring rubric later, but both individuals will review using this same criteria. The candidates actually will get the review from the committee as well as their score, which I'm going to talk about the scale. The scale is from 9 to 1, with 9 being the best and 1 being the least. The evolution of that scoring system, this is just a little bit of information, is based on the fact that we're using a platform called Foundant, and this was the scoring system they had in place. If you're from a long time ago, you may remember when the scoring system was flipped, where 1 was the best and 9 or 10 was the least good. And but now it's the reverse because of the platform that we use. If we have a situation where, in case some of you wondered, where one reviewer maybe really thought highly of your application and another reviewer didn't, and that variance between their scores, let's say one person said you were an 8 and one person said you were a 5, or your application was, then we would actually add another reviewer because we want to give everyone the best chance to be successful. If it turns out that the additional reviewer unfortunately may agree with the person with the lower score, then that tends to indicate that maybe that is the predominant perspective. But we do try to get as much opinion as possible to give you the greatest chance. And the reviewers who were determined to have a conflict of interest, if you've ever wondered, are the people who are at your institution going to be there listening when your application comes through? No, if you have a conflict of interest, such as you're at the same institution or if you're at different institutions and you recently worked on a grant together that led to a publication or just had a publication together, those people, not only do they leave the room, they don't participate in the discussion, they don't score, and they are not privy to what was said. The assigned reviewers will present the review, and there's some discussion, and then all of the reviewers who don't have a conflict of interest, who are still in the room, will provide their score based on hearing the review. All reviewers in the committee have, as long as they don't have a conflict of interest, have access to just overall review all the applications, not just the one that were assigned to them. If anyone is voting outside of the range, they do declare that and give a reason why. Again, this is just for transparency. This is averaged and it is anonymous. So when there's a review of all of the scores, we're not looking at a list of scores next to a person's name. So it's again kept anonymous. Next slide. So PARC, or Planning and Research Committee, is actually advisory to the AAO Foundation Board of Directors. So PARC makes a recommendation. To be fair, oftentimes the AAO Foundation Board, or almost always, will accept the recommendation, but ultimately the final funding decisions are the purview of the board. And last year, for instance, about 300,000 more dollars were allotted to fund applications because that was deemed by the park committee to be meritorious. So it was good that the foundation board did approve that. And then this is at the point where the application will get their funding decision and critique. Whether or not you're funded, even if you are funded, you still have some valuable critique. Sometimes it will say, we are funding you, but we hope that you consider making these adjustments. And those who aren't funded, of course, will have that critique for a future application. The rubric that we use considers the overall impact, the significance, strength or weakness, the investigator, strength or weakness, innovation, strength or weakness, approach, strength or weakness, environment, and success and productivity, strength or weaknesses each. And this gives us a way not to simply give sort of a gut perspective, but to have a very thoughtful way and systematic way so that across reviewers, even though different people have different reviewers, they're considering the same attributes. And we also, and this is important when you submit, will make sure, the reviewer will make sure that you have included whether or not you have achieved animal or human research approval, or whether it's in the process, whether you have a budget that's appropriate. So Dr. Al already talked about your budget earlier, but the reviewer does have the jurisdiction to say if the budget you propose, it's within the limit, it is explained, but it may not seem appropriate or justified. So you would be careful about how you put that together. For instance, if you had an ineligible request and you had an RAA and you requested $3,000 of travel, then that would be inappropriate or ineligible. Next slide. And so this is the actual scoring guideline. Um, I actually am not sure if this comes back on your review, but this is the way the rubric works. If you were to get a 9, that would be exceptionally strong. And that means really you have no weaknesses. If you got an 8, it would mean that you had maybe some weaknesses that were not significant, or they weren't deal breakers. And then from there on down, the weaknesses increase. So you go from some weaknesses to numerous, then you start to get moderate weaknesses. And just by historical precedent, often if you're under a 5, it's usually because you have more than one moderate weakness. And oftentimes, even though it says satisfactory, oftentimes under a 5 is not as likely to be funded. That's not 100% sure, but that's a good sort of litmus for that. And from there on, those that are 3, 2, or 1 would absolutely, because there's at least a major weakness, would not meet the measure of being funded. Slide. So I'm going to stop for any questions of Dr. Alaretti or me, and then I'll present a few more slides, and then we'll hear a little bit more overview from the foundation team. Are there any questions at this precise moment? And actually, I want to share a frequently asked question, or a question I've gotten more than once. Dr. Alaretti presented some of the details of how you put together your application, and there are specific letters that are required. And a question I've gotten is, if the chair is the mentor, do I have to have a chair letter and a mentor letter? You do not. And if there are people who are both the institutional support and the mentor, their letters don't have to all be distinct, because the way the platform works is that you have to submit something in those categories. If it's going to be the same content, you could actually submit the same letter. And that did come up in our discussion with the team recently. And I also will give another tidbit that last year was the first time we went to an application which prevents you from typing in too much. So even though we say you need a certain amount, like a page or this many, the founded form now, if you cut and paste or direct type in, it will not allow you to put past a certain amount. So it is meant to help people adhere to the requirements. Are there any questions?
There is a question from now.
Um, yes, hi. So, are these successful applications that were funded in past few cycles open source or available for us to kind of review? Because, for example, somebody like me, I'm very new to grant applications in general, writing grant applications. So that would be a big resource for me to learn, how to write a successful AOF grant.
So, and I'll let Dr. Alaretti and the team chime in. What is open source is the final report, and that's on the AAO Foundation website. Um, Somewhat implicit in the final report may be their abstract and their objective, so you can get a sense of it. But I am not aware of any portal where the foundation has all the applications. I'm certainly aware from knowledge of working with people that sometimes mentors may share their application or colleagues may share their past applications. So you're at UAB. I know that there have been people funded there. So that's the reason why the whole team approach is so important because it's likely that some of your team members have experience.
Right. Thank you.
Dr. Already, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered what I was actually going to say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Just for your information, on the AAO Foundation website, which is aaofoundation.net, the past year's awards, there is a synopsis on many of them that might be of help to you. So there is a synopsis of the research and the funding on the AAO Foundation website. And if you go to the foundation website, it's under the awards program and about the AAO Foundation grant program. And so if you scroll down there, you'll be able to see the synopsis of many of the awards from this past year.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, Brett, they can also see the final reports, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Fun-
those are available.
Yes.
Those are on
So,
summary of awards on that tab.
okay, good. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to present just a few more slides, and then we're going to turn it back over to the foundation team. So we've given as much detail as we can on the sheer mechanics of the process. But where do applicants trip up? Well, one could be the quality. How strong is it in each of the criteria? And the criteria I listed were significance, investigators, or investigator, materials and methods. These categories have to hold their own, so to speak. So, for instance, if the investigator did not do a very thorough job of articulating in their bio sketch their past academic accomplishments or the strength of their team members, that can make the environment or the investigator category not score as well. For instance, are the ideas novel, and are the approaches novel and achievable? Remember, you are proposing a time period to do this, so you have to make sure it's achievable. Do you test a hypothesis? That is the ideal kind of science, hypothesis driven. But we realize some of these awards are developmental awards, such as the OFDFA. You may have a hypothesis generating proposal, not one that is hypothesis driven. So, and it's exploratory. And if your OFDFA has such a, a, a strategy, you also would want to make sure that the other components of your application, such as how you're going to enrich your teaching skills, how you're going to enrich your clinical skills and your professional skills. So you have to be balanced. the formatting, of course, goes without being said. You have to submit it on time. You had to have followed the instructions, and everything that was required was included. And if you are submitting an application that was not funded, um, then you have to make, or excuse me, that was not an AAO foundation application. You have to make sure that it fits the foundation guidelines. But again, our new platform infrastructure makes it so that you really submit things in boxes that are word limited. Next slide. The eligibility is a big deal. Are you eligible for the category? What I would say for this, and I feel like this has happened in the past, is if you're not sure if you're eligible for the category and the people at your institution haven't either been given clarity in that area, you can call the foundation staff. They actually can work through with select members of park, a lot of times the chair and vice chair, to figure out if someone is eligible, if there's some fuzziness, and is the category in which you are the most competitive, or is this a category where you're the most competitive? So there are people who have applied for a BRA when they could have still probably gotten an OFDFA, but they were perhaps competitive and they were successful, and that's great, and as they should. Another place where some applicants may trip up, if you had previous funding and when you fill out the part that Dr. Al already mentioned, previous award application, if you don't list that the goals of that award, such as presenting a manuscript, um, another grant that you received, if you don't essentially have anything accomplished in that category, that would decrease your competitiveness. Something as simple as turning in your final report, for instance. If you had a previous fund, a grant fund, and you never turned in your final report, that would certainly be somewhat of a blemish to considering another application. So make sure you turn in reports for anyone, if anyone is on this call who currently has an application, make sure your final reports are turned in. Next slide. We've already talked a little bit about this, that for instance, if it's your first time ever doing an application, maybe you can't go to a website and see all the old applications, but you can talk to teams at your schools. And if you are at a school where they have not really achieved a history of having AAO Foundation grants, you can again call and talk to some of the park members. You can reach the staff, and if the staff can't answer your question, they'll seek help from park members just to answer questions or perhaps point you in the direction of who would be a good kind of advisor to you, even if they're not at your school. It's better if you have it at your school, but there are plenty of people who have mentors who are at another institution, and that can be achieved. All of the individuals, whether they're at your school, whether they're your chair or not at your school, should review the application and hopefully provide some input. Particularly identifying mentors who've had experience in this area is more critical. And of course, making sure that you've thought about the question you're asking, and your mentor would have a lot more depth and breadth of experience in that area. Next slide. So we are now about, I guess, less than 4 months out. Oh, sorry. We are now less than 4 months out for the due date. And we're saying you should start 6 months prior to submission. So hopefully everyone who wishes to submit now has already started. If you have not, I would get started soon and focus on the research question and design, because oftentimes that's where you may have a great idea, but the feasibility of your design and the team that you have identified that will be carrying it out doesn't align. They don't align with each other. So make sure you think about who these team members, co-investigators, mentors are, and that it is clear that the method is achievable and measurable. And make sure for career development, a lot of times people will put for career development that they're going to keep teaching the courses they're teaching, and they don't say a lot about whether they're doing some formal enrichment. Make sure you seek out what are newer and more contemporary thoughts on pedagogy. For instance, for those people who are not doing an AI project, irrespective of that, AI methods are still things that is still very new. So if you had a course where you were going to learn more about AI, which is still new, that would be one example of what would be appropriate. And you can take a relevant course for that. And if you're not doing something that really relies on a lot of contemporary methodology. A relevant course, when I had an AAO Foundation Award, I actually took a course in clinical trials. That wasn't new and different. That was just a basic standard thing to take. But that's something that each applicant should look at. What are they proposing and what are the skill sets that go with it, and how can they align their career academic development with that application? Next slide. And so we've said all of this. I'm not going to repeat all of this over, but having the mentorship you needed and making sure that everything has been refined, and um, there is not yet any stance that we have on using AI, but we do want to make sure that you've done your own work, and that if you haven't, it's very apparent where where you may have used some other type of assistance. But overall, if your proposal is well organized, it's detailed, and the reviewers can read it carefully, then you're off to a good start. So this year, we are not offering the Education Innovation Award and have not for a while. And we also are offering all of the other types, but as indicated before, the Center Award that will be offered is two of the four types, which are type 3 and 4. So please read over that carefully if you have a plan to apply for a Center Award. I believe this might be where I switch, but
I think that it is, Dr. Fraser
okay.
Bowers. So first of all, I want to thank both Dr. Fraser Bowers and Dr. Alareddy, who are leading the park committee, and the entire committee for the planning and awards. they give an incredible amount of time to reviewing these applications to help steward and guide this through. And so I want to thank the committee especially for the amount of time that they give to this and their expertise and their years of valuable insights to this to the foundation. But we love to kind of continue to build on this. The future of orthodontics relies on quality research. And in a world where sometimes research is being challenged, that the AAO and the AAO Foundation are stepping up and saying this is important is really valuable to the specialty and to this profession. So we continue to build on quality applications, on discoveries in orthodontics. We really believe in developing faculty, the next generation of leaders, and identifying what is next out there and what are calls for proposals. So we will continue to enhance the quality of review and the feedback to each of you. This is all about the implementation of our strategic plan, something we call Vision 2030. Research is at the top of our agenda, and it continues to be at the top of the agenda. We're looking for novel projects. We want these proposals that advance the science, education, and practice of orthodontics, and especially proposals that investigate artificial intelligence. Both of these things are important for us. The foundation will continue to raise funds to enhance this research. We'll continue to tell our story. So as many of you know, if you've been awarded this, I will reach out to you and I will let you know when we need to use your story so we can share that story with the specialty, those in the specialty, and with the world. There are great things that are happening. You are members of your community and you are members of this specialty, and we appreciate all that you do to advance the profession. You can always reach out to us. George Reinerman is our park program specialist. He can assist you in any way that you need to. Make sure you go on and set up in the grant interface system your profile and your application process. That will give you an easy way to communicate to George. You can also reach out to me at any time. I can answer questions. I can ask our experts questions and make sure to guide you to the right area. But George is very available to you. Email is probably the best way to do that. But we are so pleased that the foundation and generations of those who have given to this foundation are able to provide this this research funding for the future. So thank you all for your time. If you have any questions, please let us know. But I thank you for your time on this call. Have a wonderful day.